I think it's safe to say that on Wednesday, we got put back into reality. But this Saturday, away from home against Bournemouth, we can't accept our reality because Bournemouth away tends to be a stadium, tends to be a fixture in which we get points in. And getting a win this weekend would be the perfect antidote, the best way to bounce back after midweek defeat. Against Bournemouth, expect to run, expect to fight, and expect to showcase all the things that we lack dramatically against Leeds United. So my friends, you know what you're here for. The big match preview for our game this weekend against Bournemouth. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Show us some love, hit that like button, and most importantly, have those notification buttons on to stay up to date to all things Blue Lions TV. But before I continue on, with the Christmas period round the corner, my friends, Christmas coming up very soon. If you're planning on making any purchases for yourselves, for your loved ones, the Mega Store has you guys absolutely covered. So use my link in the card above, description below, and don't forget to use Nini10 at checkout to get a full 10% off your final order, my friends. So yeah, that's that out of the way. Let's break down this preview. My friends, Bournemouth, as I'm saying, could be the perfect team to come up against after that midweek disappointment, because at the moment, Bournemouth find themselves in a terrible run of form. They've only picked up 1 point in their last 5 games, which is kind of insane. But they recently lost to Everton, and their last point came in a draw against West Ham. Right now, Bournemouth are kind of looking a bit meaty. They're looking like victims a little bit. They've been relying upon the brilliance of Semenyo, the energy of Tyler Adams and Christie in midfield, plus a lot more, my friends. But sadly, Bournemouth are unable to turn to these stars, especially in midfield. That's been a massive loss for them. Up front, Semenyo, some Bournemouth fans are alluding to the fact that he has his eyes now on the January window. We do know that there's a very competitive release clause available in the next few weeks. So the last thing this guy wants to be is injured for that period, right? Especially when he's married now and he's probably thinking about the next big contract and family life. Maybe these are details that don't really mean much to you guys, but I just think that everything right now is kind of showcasing that one of the best strengths of Bournemouth now doesn't exist at the moment, and that's their intensity. That's their pressing. They're struggling right now. And since having a very strong start to the season, especially that opening game against Liverpool, they've been really unable to kind of maintain those levels. And a lot of that has come down to injuries at the wrong time and strikers in Evan Nilsson not really bagging enough goals. Now, they do have some talents to stay aware of. Of course, Krupi, now that he's getting opportunities, he's really showcasing his excellent form that he showcased in League 2 last season. Of course, they have talents like Semenyo, who's still a tough guy on his day to crack. And Senesi and Kov, of course, you know, a true foot on the left. Listen, they're a talented team. And I think after seeing how we performed and cope against Leeds, right, none of us can say anything about ever being too complacent for any opposition. Like, we can't afford to be that arrogant because we got really surprised by the efforts that Leeds came with. I think Maresca himself was pretty surprised by that outcome, especially after all the midweek preparations. So listen, as long as we have our head in the game, as long as Maresca selects the right competitive lineup from the start, yeah, I'll be discussing those details in the predicted lineup parts. Make sure you guys stay tuned to the very end of this video. But I just feel like if we get to the details pattern, do the right things, I think, or I'm expecting us to get a win against Bournemouth. And if we don't get a win against them, ooh, you know what? I'm not even going to be that negative. I don't want to think that far ahead. We can still control things at this point in time, right? So I think now is probably the perfect time right now to move on to discussing Maresca's key points from the press conference. Now, we had a lot of interesting details from Enzo Maresca in this press conference. I'm going to focus on the key points, as always, very quickly when it comes to details like team news, for example. Don't be expecting anything crazy right now. We do know that Romeo Lavia is still out with a muscular-related injury, but the club still don't know whether this will be a short-term or long-term injury. And I sympathise for Lavia. He's only 21 years old. He's having so much hardship at the start. Hopefully he can come back and have an impact at some point during this season. That's how I feel around things. In the meantime, we focus the talk on Maresca's opinions on that Leeds United defeat, with Maresca basically saying, listen, we need to rest players. We need to rotate. We have games every 3 days now in December. He revealed maybe that the intensity efforts playing 10 men for like 1 hour against Arsenal didn't play a part. Potentially, but at the same time, he made enough rotations in that team where I don't think fatigue should have played much of an issue in my opinion. And I think this then centers on one of Maresca's biggest regrets, actually, which he says surrounding Josh Acheampong. I'm going to show you guys on screen exactly what our gaffer had to say. As he says right here, one of the regrets I have after the game is that I didn't play with Josh. So the reason why we played with the defense we used, Tosin, Trev, Benoit, was because analysing them, we saw that most of the time they were playing long balls for Calvert-Lewin or for Nemecha. And so we prefer physicality to win aerial duels. But even with that, we lost most of them. And I think this is really like a vital, valuable lesson that we've learned. I think sometimes when you can, I don't want to say overcoach, that's wrong, because Maresca's a key strategist and the details have come on. Look at the progress we've seen in 2025. Let's not dismiss that because we're still hurt about the last defeat. Let's not be, a bit too overzealous with things right now. But sometimes when you're kind of focusing too much on nullifying the opposition's star talents, what do you end up doing? You kind of end up inadvertently empowering them, right? Because now you're encouraging Leeds to play those long balls. You're like, okay, we see what you guys are doing with your mountains at the back. Let's see if these guys are really ready for this game, yeah? We're going to test you. We're going to play even more long balls to our striker right now because we know that if he wins that battle against you lot, your game plan's nullified straight. So not only did that work out against us, but the other thing from having that back line is that we weren't able to push our defensive line up to be closer to our midfield. And every single time we got big results in November, it came from that crucial detail of the gaps and distances between midfield and defense being united. Because I guarantee, yeah, if we played our football, we would have naturally limited Leeds United to just hope and pray long balls, which would have been snuffed out on because the pressing from the pack from the front would be winning a lot of these second balls, right? That's how I see the details here. So there was definitely something to learn from this aspect. He did also reveal as well too that, listen, maybe Tosin didn't have the best of games, which I think is very fair to say. I don't think it's an insult. I think, listen, there's a fine balance between managers kind of, throwing their players out for the lines in the media, but also understanding that, listen, it's professional, competition. I'm not one of those masculine, toxic type of guys, but there is a degree of that type of like masculine energy in the sport, right? You need that to kind of compete and stay on your top form. So you have to also consider that when you're kind of talking about players. So it's more than fine for Maresca to say, listen, Tosin didn't do that good. Did he play good? No. So it's not about experience alone. As Maresca rightfully said, when we got results against your Arsenals and your Barcelonas and Tottenhams and many others, Liverpool's, no one was talking about experience then, right? It's about quality. And I do like that Maresca has revealed that. So all I can really hope and say is that Maresca kind of continues to empower the team by entrusting in what we're best at. We should turn towards that youthful spirit a bit more because it causes issues, and we do have some top youngsters at this club right now. So I think they're really the main type of talking points, of course. Lots of other interesting facets and details too, like Maresca saying that they did a lot of analysis work for that game against Leeds. So, he himself was just as surprised as you're seeing here. We know this guy's meticulous, him and his coaching staff. And listen, on paper, I don't think it's a terrible idea to kind of think if we use our big guys and control Leeds' best moments in that game, we'll be forcing the game in our favour. But You know what? If that comes at the expense of not being able to use a high line, then I don't think it really works out for us like that, in my opinion. So there are the key talking points from the press, my friends. Right now, I'm going to tell you guys my predicted lineup for the game against Bournemouth. For me, yeah, this lineup is a bit of a no-brainer. You're seeing it on screen. Joao Pedro up front, Palmer in behind, Neto, Garnacho, Enzo, Reece James in midfield, and a defense of Fofana, Jalaba, Acheampong on the right, and Marc Cucurella. Now, Sanchez speaks for himself. Let's breeze past him. The defense now is key. With Maresca's admissions around Josh Acheampong, I think this kind of confirms low-key that he starts, and I think he has to. I think maybe Gusto wasn't that good. Maybe he felt the fatigue issues after his, very intense game against Arsenal, fair enough. But when you have someone like Acheampong, who is that good on the ball, offers us forward threat, and also has the recovery pace, yeah. And we can't forget the start of the season. Did he not wrap up Mateta? Come on, man. Like, he could have done something against Calvert-Lewin. Let's keep it real. So he's definitely in this team, playing that inverted role on the right side. Fofana's back as well. Hopefully he can get subbed off if we have a lead to protect in the second half to get him ready against Atalanta, without a doubt. Jalaba remains in this team. I will never accept all this nonsense that anytime the Chelsea defense do bad, Jalaba's name gets thrown into it for some reason, which baffles me, because in all the games that we played well in this season, he's always played a key part in the team. I mean, the guy's got 2 Man of the Match awards this season. How many goals from set pieces? I think him and Fofana at the moment are the best defensive duo that we have. And Cucurella, hopefully Cucurella just has a bit more involvement. Now, it wasn't his fault against Leeds, but if you guys clock the details in the second half, when he was allowed to kind of push further forward out wide, underlapping, overlapping, did you not notice the improvements in Gittins and Garnacho? We must maintain that against Bournemouth. Midfield has to be Enzo and has to be Reece James. Hopefully Reece doesn't end this game because we win it in like the 60th minute and then Santos can replace him. But against Bournemouth, now that they're lacking physicality, with Tyler Adams not even being able to play in the game this Saturday, they are there for the taking. We have to make sure that we prevent any type of issues against us in midfield, and Reece James has to be there to enforce things alongside Enzo Fernandez. Now, you know what, you guys? I wish one day I get to see Enzo playing more second phase. Lazy comparison, just to speed up the point. Tony Cruz position sometimes. I just think sometimes Maresca should adjust his passing vision and passing, I'm not saying mechanics, but ability to connect the field a bit more. I think against these teams that park the bus, it surprises me that we never have Enzo orchestrating things from deep. It needs to improve, but hopefully against Bournemouth, that won't need to be the case. And up front speaks for itself, but I think Esteval could easily start. And at first, I did actually have Esteval on the right-hand sides, and I did have Neto on the left. But the reason why I've gone for Neto in the end is because I think he's one of the form attacking players for us this season. I think he's showing amazing attacking qualities. He's got 5 goals in 13 appearances, 2 assists. I mean, this is literally evidence of Pedro Neto now stepping up, developing, and kind of entering like his pre-peak stage. I mean, he suffered many injuries at the start of his career. He's over them right now. When you look at him play, you wouldn't even feel like this guy used to be an injury magnet back in the day. But now he's really stepping up and he's doing something I've been asking for a long time. Play more than 1 good game every month. Keep that intensity, keep that momentum. And right now I can confidently say this has been 4 to 5 great games from Pedro Neto, and he's one of our key goal threats. So his intensity, the ability to kind of just eat up the yards, because there's going to be a lot of spaces and transitional moments against Bournemouth. And we're going to need to have those players that are going to put in those hard yards and cover distances quickly. So I think that balance of Garnacho doing the same thing on the left, hopefully getting supported by Cucurella, Pedro Neto offering the goal threat on the right side. Little other details like all those far post runs he made last season that got ignored are now being... I'm liking what I'm seeing from Pedro Neto. And I guess, obviously, to end things, that's going to be Cole Palmer who needs to get more minutes now, and Joao Pedro. I keep saying this, but I want to see that partnership blossom again. I want to see them come back again. They showed great things during the summer period. I do think with how Joao Pedro plays, he likes those he likes those relationist type of. I'm saying it so wrong, but he just wants to have that guy he can kind of play ball with and play off with. That's what they have, and a lot of times when you guys are finding possibilities against defensive teams, low blocks, whatever, you can't just system your way into a goal. A lot of times it's the problem solving that you see from the players, and that will come from their combinations, right? I want to see more encouragement of combinations in this team. As I was saying originally, I even had Esteval in this team on the right with Neto on the left, because at some point, if we want to be that team against this type of defensive tactic, we're going to need more relationist stuff from your Palmers, your Pedros and Estevals, having an understanding of playing together, playing off each other, having that wavelength. That is what every great team that wins things has in their team. And I just think that we aren't on that level just yet, where you see those natural combinations and relationships that we used to have. Case in point, your Lampards, your Drogbas. How many times did their ability to play together by themselves win us games? Do we really have anything like that in the team right now? Probably not. So my friends, that is my predicted lineup tomorrow. And to end things with my prediction, I feel like we're going to bounce back because the team, I don't know, I think I'm seeing more mentality with these guys this season. I'm going to be going for a 3-1 win against Bournemouth, because I think we're playing against Bournemouth at the best time. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Catch you guys tomorrow match day, and make sure you guys are here for my watch along. Love.